Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest way in which Thames Water have demonstrated their contempt for the British public. Again, I'm not sure who's got the worst public relations advisors right now, the Labour government or Thames Water, because when Thames Water have somehow managed to get themselves into a cycle of severe debt, whilst controlling a monopoly of an essential service, and without even spending on investment, I don't think that lying to MPs in order to pay yourself massive bonuses is going to endear you to the public. But first, for daily news and commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So I seem to be talking about Thames Water a bit here, but they really are the dumbest fat cats I've seen in a while. I talked recently about how the government have indicated that they will use their new legislation to block the payment of bonuses to executives. Labour's Steve Reed called it a reward for failure and he won't allow it. So Thames Water are wanting to use some of their £3 billion emergency loan to pay the bonuses of executives in order to stop them leaving. Now, this is an emergency loan that is only needed because those same executives are incapable of balancing a budget for a company which delivers an essential resource that everyone needs, water, with zero competition from other companies. You don't choose your water company. Any executive which cannot balance the books for a company like that should not only be allowed to leave, they should be invited to do so. And let's just look at the wider optics of this situation. So, there's a cost of living crisis. In some respects, much of the developed world has an issue with inflation. In fact, against a background of soaring rice prices in Japan, a government minister has just resigned because he seemed to actually boast that he doesn't actually pay for rice because other people give it to him for free. Now, when the public feel a particular pressure, you need to show a bit of solidarity. So in Britain, we have been stuck in stagflation for years. High inflation with low growth. You generally move from one to the other in your economy. Don't tend to have both at the same time. That's pretty bad. Although incomes are rising above inflation now, not everyone is feeling the benefits of that yet. So the public at large is very focused still on the cost of living. At a time like this, people who are already paid eye-watering sums are demanding much more. Now, this would be bad enough in a cost of living crisis, but these particular executives are running an essential public service which is failing so badly that it needs billions of pounds in emergency loans. And it wants to use some of those emergency loans not to fix the financial problems at the company, but to stuff into their own pockets. Cannot quite fathom the level of stupidity required to not appreciate how that's going to look in public. But anyway, the chief executive, Sir Adrian Montague, sounds like the sort of lad who grew up on a council estate, he went to Parliament to answer questions from MPs. Now, Montague was reported as having told MPs at that meeting that it was a condition of the emergency loan that they had to pay the bonuses in order to retain staff. Now, being clear, Montague himself is not in line for the bonus. He's doing this on behalf of colleagues. But the point is, he told MPs, according to reports, that the people issuing the emergency loan, so his creditors, had said, you have to use some of it on bonuses because we don't want executives walking, right? We don't want to pump money in, if you pardon the expression, to a company where you then allow your top staff to leave. However, The Guardian appeared to do some digging into the terms of the loan and discovered that the reference to bonuses came from Thames Water, not the creditors. What seems to have happened is that Thames Water had made the staff retention argument to creditors, who then agreed to allow some of the loan to be used for the bonuses, rather than insisting on it themselves. In other words, using some of the loan for bonuses was a concession from the creditors, not a condition. So after The Guardian were getting ready to report this, Montague then went, oh shit, and he sent a letter to the chair of the select committee of MPs he'd spoken to. Let me read the opening lines of the letter. Following the session, we have been approached by The Guardian, who we understand intend to write a story suggesting that we misled the committee in relation to the company's management retention plan. I appreciate that in the heat of the moment, I may have misspoken when I stated that the creditors insisted on the management retention plan. Misspoken? Lied, mate. He had said that the bonuses had to be paid because it was a condition of the loan. It was not a condition of the loan. It was a concession which Thames Water had wanted. When you give us this loan in order to cover up our financial incompetence for another few months, can you let us stuff some of it into our pockets? These are the sort of entitled little pricks that when they were first starting out in life would have spent too much money on partying, gone to their rich parents to say, oh, I'm struggling with the rent, been given money for it, then spent it on partying again. Well, if rich parents want to keep digging their idiot offspring out of a hole, that is up to them. But the public should not be expected to do so for millionaire idiots. After all, yes, this is a private loan, but it's ultimately public money which will pay it off. MPs should bring Montague back for more questions and make him swear an oath next time. See, parliamentary committees almost never demand that witnesses swear an oath because they usually take it on trust. But they do have the power when they don't entirely trust them. That's why Boris Johnson had to swear an oath for his Privileges Committee meeting. And it has the legal power of perjury as well. It's not just a bit of window dressing. It has legal powers. Get Montague back in on oath and ask him some very detailed and specific questions. Let's see if he fancies risking 2 years in prison for lying a second time. Being clear, the bonuses are not going to be paid. It appears that Thames Water have now agreed to this rather than suffer the indignity of having the Secretary of State block it, which he was absolutely going to do. Perhaps instead, if there is any money left over from the loan, they could use it on some training for their executives. What life is like for their customers and how it looks when millionaires who are running a failing business into the ground ask for more money on top of their already generous salaries. Because remember, water bills are going up by quite a bit, not just in line with inflation to cover the extra staffing and other costs. Like, people would understand that. Even if they're struggling, they get that water companies obviously have staff. You need to make sure that staff's wages keep up with the cost of living. And you'll sort of understand some supplies are going to cost more. No. Bills are going up by a lot in order to pay for the infrastructure that we desperately need and which water companies have been refusing to build for 35 years now. When water was privatised by Thatcher, we were promised that the water companies would modernise the industry. Now, it was a con. They didn't. In fact, privatisation in general is a con. It's a con trick which tells the public, why should you pay for investment when the private sector wants to do it for us? But where does the private sector get its money from? From the public, you idiot. Privatisation is a way of getting us to pay for things in the belief someone else is paying for it. And because we're told someone else is paying for it, we somehow have less right to demand a certain standard. Plus, we pay extra because of profit. Absolute con. The entire concept is a con. So now, after paying for no modernisation for decades, we're now going to have to pay for all the normal running costs of these companies, as well as the profit on top, as well as the modernisation at long last, because that still needs to happen. We've now got 35 years of catching up to do. Plus, on top of all of that, we've got to pay off the debts that these fat cats somehow managed to run up whilst running a monopoly on an essential public service that wasn't even investing. How these executives cannot understand the public anger that they're generating is beyond me. Those ivory towers of theirs must have pretty good sound insulation. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for listening, and until next time, I'll see you later.